My Lords, I'm sorry to disappoint the noble Lord Moore in the fact that the Bench of Bishops is briefly going to speak up on its own behalf. He may in fact be surprised, as may many of the noble Lords opposite, that in the first 8 months of the current Parliament, the bishops have voted 29 times and only 5 times with the Labour government. The bishops are not party political. We really do seek to improve and scrutinise legislation. That's by the way. I'm grateful for the opportunity offered by this range of amendments to address some of the concerns expressed by members of this House about the place and role of those of us who serve on these benches. Though we are not whipped and we do not have a party line, the Lords Spiritual are pretty much all of one mind that your Lordship's House would benefit from some reform, not least to do with numbers and patronage. We do believe, as you would expect, that a reformed House of Lords should include Lords Spiritual and should continue to reflect the present constitutional arrangement. I'll try to speak briefly to all of the amendments in this group, taking first Amendments 33 and 78, which seek to reduce the number of Lords Spiritual serving on these benches. Amendment 33, in the name of the noble Lord Bencathra, would reduce the number from its current 26 to 5, the 2 archbishops and 3 others nominated by the Church's General Synod. In practice, since every one of the Lords Spiritual has full-time responsibilities outside this place, a reduction to 5 would make it impossible for the remaining Lords Spiritual to perform their functions as parliamentarians alongside their duties as diocesan bishops or primates. Although there are at present 26 Lords Spiritual, you will notice that we are never by any means all of us present at any one time. That is because the demands of our other responsibilities prevents it. Only a minority of the Lords Spiritual are able to be present in this chamber on any given day, and I would urge noble Lords to keep this in mind in any consideration of a reduction of the number of those serving on these benches. Amendment 78, in the name of the noble Earl Lord Dundee, seeks to reduce the number of Lords Spiritual by a smaller amount to 20. Like the noble Lord Bencathra's amendment, there's no obvious rationale for the number chosen. We are very open to the possibility of a reduction in the size of your Lordship's House as a whole, with consequences for the Bench of Bishops, but we do believe that a conversation about the number of bishops should take its place as part of a comprehensive review of the membership of this House. We would really very warmly welcome representations not just from other Christian denominations, but from other faith groups in this country. Amendments 48 and 49, in the name of the noble Lord Viscount Hailsham, would prevent new Lords Spiritual receiving writs to join the House, but would allow current bishops to remain until retirement and would not prevent someone who is a bishop from being made a life peer. The amendment would, however, permit a bishop to enter for the purposes of reading prayers. While we do appreciate the latter aspect of this amendment, we note that the role of the Lords Spiritual is much more than mere chaplaincy. We do highly value the privilege of leading your Lordship's House in prayer, but we do not regard that as our only, nor always our most significant contribution. Ultimately, on these benches, we oppose these amendments on the basis that they would effectively sever the constitutional link between church and state. This limited bill is not the place to settle questions about the constitutional status of the established Church of England. That is a bigger discussion for another time. Finally, Amendment 90B, in the name of the noble Lady Baroness Berridge, would amend the 1878 Bishoprics Act so that the issuing of writs to Lords Spiritual would be subject to the approval and effective veto of the House of Lords Appointments Commission. I do understand the desire of the noble lady for the appointments process for diocesan bishops who become Lords Spiritual to be robust, and we on these benches do share that view. And indeed, we would be open to the direct scrutiny of this House if that is what this House desires. However, there is already a stringent process for assessing propriety in the appointment of the diocesan bishops who subsequently become Lords Spiritual. In fact, I would venture to suggest that while of course not perfect, the process overseen by the Crown Nominations Commission in the discernment of new diocesan bishops is at least as thorough as the other processes used to appoint members to this House. Moreover, writs of summons to Lords Spiritual are issued by the operation of law, not by the will of the Prime Minister or the Leader of the Opposition, so any involvement of the House of Lords Appointments Commission would need to be quite carefully calibrated. Noble Lords would hardly be surprised that we on these benches are not able to support this group of amendments.